Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Chiefs Insider live from Shenanigans. I'm your host, Chad Miller, and I'm joined by my partner, Arthur Andrade. And of course, this week, in place of head coach Hector Guevara, we have defensive line coach Max Privetto. Coach, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.
Glad to be here.
Fantastic. Well, here in a moment, we're going to go through some of the highlights from Friday night's matchup against Fort Stockton, where the Chiefs were able to take home a 42-7 victory over the Panthers, avenging your first of 4 one-score losses from last year. So just initially, while we're getting the highlights ready, just give me your overall thoughts, just being able to get that first win of the season.
Yeah, you always want to start off the season on a good note, and the kids really worked hard during the summer times, during voluntary workouts, the 2-a-days, putting in the grind, the effort, and just to get out there and start the season on a good note really goes a long way for the rest of the season.
And then we will have some specific notes regarding your position group, but just give me your overall thoughts. Of course, D-line, just how they played throughout the course of the ball game.
Right, there's a lot of good stuff that they did, some stuff we got to work on, and overall, I think as a whole defensive unit, we played really well. And of course, off the side of the ball, they put up 6 touchdowns. So overall, a great game, and so stuff we can definitely build off of, and definitely stuff we can need to correct to help us get ready for the weeks to come.
And I believe we do have our highlight clip ready, as we are going to get it started here in just a moment, as we are looking live. And of course, here we're going to see almost interception. Of course, you were able to get 2 in the game. We see Diaz looking left, and we see a couple guys, including Chris Alviso, able to snag in a pick there. But hey, a incompletion nonetheless as we go to the next one. It looks to be like the first quarter was more Fort Stockton's game. We see quarterback Jerry Diaz able to get 9-yard keeper up the middle here, and then on this next highlight, we're going to see him get that opening touchdown, a 22-yard keeper. Just walk me through kind of what you were telling your defensive line after his initial quarter. It seemed like a lot of quarterback power up the middle was kind of getting the better of y'all early in the ball game.
Right, a lot of it just first game jitters, I would say. Just trying to get settling in. The first time it's a live game and then you get to go hit someone else. Overall, so that quarterback, Jerry Diaz, he is a bigger guy. He was a running back last year for them, and so big, strong, athletic kid. But once we're able to regroup after that first touchdown of theirs, and kind of settle in and focus in on closing in that quarterback run, so that way we can stop that and ultimately force them to pass, which we wanted them to do.
And then, of course, these last couple of highlights, we're seeing Chris Alviso able to do Chris Alviso things, able to make guys miss, able to scramble and keep the play going. And we see a couple of these highlights just throwing here, a little dump off on the screen pass to Isaiah Rios, and he'll go off for the touchdown there. And just excellent job. Obviously, you mentioned being able to put up a lot of touchdowns, able to help your defense a lot more. Just give me a little bit more insight on just the impact. You see your whole defensive front 7 there just stuffed that running play there.
Right, yeah, and a lot of us defensively, we teach the kids, rally to the ball, all 11 hats, got to make the ball carrier, and just delivering hits just like that one you just saw. And offensive side of the ball, the more they control it, the less that we got to be on the field, and we get to put up more points that way. We score more on offense, and by doing so, we get to control the game into our own hands.
Talk to me on the course. I've learned this last year since I started covering the Chiefs. A lot of y'all's bigger stars play both sides of the ball. To talk to me about the impact, and we were going to throw out a name later on, but Connor Williams able to throw both sides of the ball. I know my partner called his name 8 a lot Friday night. He was just there on every single down. Talk to me about just with impact guys like him give to your team.
Yeah, Connor, he's one of our great young guys. He's a junior this year, and last year he won District Newcomer of the Year in our district, so this guy has a lot to show on defense. But that's one thing we do promote in our program is you're not just one side of the ball. Our quarterback is also our outside linebacker. And so a lot of players go both ways, and whatever helps the team win, that's what we're looking for. And these kids, they have a motor, and they just keep going until the whistle's blown, whether it be on the offensive side of the ball, defense, or even special teams, all 3 phases.
I know you may not be connected on that previous highlight where we had the 2-point conversion. Oh, you will be connected on this one. If I remember correctly, this is going to be your Contro's pick 6 from the 5-yard line, taking it back 95 yards with just a sea of blue in front of him, at least a couple guys and some guys behind him. But obviously, talk to me about this moment for your defense and just what it meant to see Concho be able to do something like this.
Oh, yeah, Concho, he's one of our good athletes on the team. He's a state track runner. He placed 4th in the 200, and he almost placed 3rd, almost medaled for us there. So, speed kills. You get this guy up in space. He has ball instincts to go up and go get the ball. And our guys are taught to, as soon as we get a turnover, go block somebody, create a wall for this guy just to go through. And Control, man, like I said, speed kills, and whenever he saw green grass, it was gone, and that helped us out so much defensively.
I thought this was a break. a breakout game for him.
Yes,
I
yes.
mean, I know he played last year, but he was more of a role player. To me, this game, he was a stud.
Yeah, all our secondary guys. I mean, you just saw a lot to choose from. We're so senior heavy, and these guys, they want to play. They want to get out there and help us win the game.
It's nice to have that.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, you mentioned that being very senior heavy. You returned 70% of your roster
Yes, sir.
from last year to this year, and then I looked and I counted single-handedly of your roster when I got y'all's too deep. All but one player, and that's your starting center, are juniors and seniors.
Correct.
Talk to me about just like the impact knowing you have that much leadership on a team like this.
Yeah, it goes a long way. This is my 4th year with Lakeview, and so these guys that were freshmen, they're seniors now. It's like we've come through the whole Lakeview process, all 4 years together, and so they've been in the program for 4 years, and they understand what our expectations are, how to handle it, and go out there and just compete and execute and play chief football.
Yeah, and I remember seeing a couple defensive stands there for your defense, and also even a fumble recovery. I believe that was going to be Jay Roman who
Yes,
had that
sir.
fumble recovery earlier, and then of course more beautiful connection there with Chris and Braylon White, who was just an absolute nobody could have stopped them. They are just continuously going to one another. You see it right here once again on like this little curl slant post route that he kind of does, able to make guys miss after the fact, and then we see Calvin Whitfield here, who was only running back majority for one drive, and he was just effective on this one drive, including getting the touchdown here. And then we continue on here. I believe it's going to be our final touchdown of the game for your guys.
You guys there, Rios.
Yeah. Isaiah Rios, 47 yards, and just doing this. The fact, ladies and gentlemen, that is Lakeview's kicker as well.
He looks like he got bigger. He looks like he got bigger than last year.
Oh, yeah, he was real devoted to the weight room during the off-season in the summer, and all the kids were.
And he always was a big kid, but he seems bigger.
Right, and, multi-sport athlete, also plays soccer for us, too. And, the offensive line, those guys get a big shout-out, we always tell them, linemen are like AC units. No one notices them until they stop working, and these guys, they really put them on their back, and they show Isaiah the promised land, and they keep working on both on the offense and defensive side of the ball. We're going to be all right.
Fantastic. And you see the handshake line. Obviously, massive victory for Lakeview, able to open up the season a 42-7 victory over Fort Stockton. Now, of course, this week on the road for the first time going to Snyder, but we'll get there later on here in the segment. Coach, we're going to start a segment here that I like to call the good, the bad, the ugly. Right?
Okay.
Obviously, very simple. If you watch maybe some spaghetti westerns back in the day, you know what I'm talking about. But let's start with the good. On the offensive side of the ball, 42 unanswered points. Right. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, that first quarter seemed to be a lot of Fort Stockton, a lot of quarterback power, able to just shred through the defense. And then after that, very much limited. We'll get to that here in just a moment. 42 unanswered points, 42-7 victory. So obviously, do the math. Everything else was Lakeview after the first quarter.
Yes, sir.
Alviso throwing darts. I mean, we saw it all highlight long. He threw for a lot there and just doing absolutely exceptional. And then, of course, we're looking at some of the wide receivers, specifically Braylon White, 7 receptions, 101 yards, and a touchdown to our count. And, of course, had that wild 2-point conversion on what seemed to be just a complete broken play. I mean, I know it's on the upside of the ball, but do you have any insight on kind of what happened there for your team?
Well, we tell all the kids, whether you mess up on the play or not, go 100 miles an hour because you never know what's going to happen. And that's the case right there. No miscommunication, but they scored on it. And, just go into the whistles blown. And that's what we preach our kids, just don't give up on the play.
And then we'll continue on with the good on the offensive side of the ball. Isaiah Rios, obviously we just saw the massive runs that he provided. A touchdown catch on a screen pass and the run. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, that is Lakeview Chiefs kicker and punter, the specialist, as would be best called, doing everything for the team. And starting running back, doing the kicking duties. I was making jokes with my partner here just about the fact that after those 2 longer runs, hopefully he catches his breath, he'll kick the extra point now.
Right, yeah. That guy has a motor, so he keeps going every play, man.
Fantastic. We love it. And, of course, I already talked about Whitfield, who was really, he was on the field a good little bit, saw his number every now and then, but he really only got one drive. I guess probably give Rios a break, and just was phenomenal with running the ball and, of course, getting that swing pass from Alviso and taking it to the house as we saw on the highlight. But now, on the defensive side of the ball, we saw a phenomenal job, and I mentioned to my partner, east-west containment, really, for the most part. Of course, as I already chit-chatted earlier, a lot of struggles up the middle with the interior run game.
Right.
But then when it came to the east to west, you kind of already touched on it, your guy just swarmed the ball so fast, and it really limited the options that Fort Stockton was able to do. Talk to me just more about what you're telling the guys there, kind of what we all really game planning for the outside run. We all seeing more interior. What we all's mindset going into the game?
Right, so for the defensive line, where I coach, we always tell our guys, we want to spill everything to the outside. We want to let our faster guys, our outside linebackers, our inside linebackers, safeties, corners, come on and make the tackles. So if we can set the edge and force them to go outside, or cut it back inside where the rest of our team can come help make the tackles, we'll be in good shape. And as far as the middle goes, like I said, that quarterback is a big, strong guy, and our defensive line, we just got to do a better job staying low and firing out and just really controlling our gaps. In our grand scheme of defense, we all have a gap we're in charge of. And defensive line, once we kind of settle down a little bit towards the middle of the game, we kind of shut that down a little bit. And as long as we keep doing that, we'll be all right.
Fantastic. And then we kind of saw, and then my partner pointed out to me as well, just kind of the Fort Stockton was not able to throw the ball very much. And when they did, of course, we already mentioned y'all swarming, had the 2 picks, but also just the fact that they had a running back their starting running back last year playing quarterback, and then when he exited with an injury, you had the backup in, and we saw kind of what the lack of passing game did with the pick 6 for Concho Johnson. Just kind of like, were y'all expecting any sort of passing threat? Was it always just run game, or be flexible whenever they decide to pass it? Kind of, what was that? Walk me through that, maybe the scheme that you had over Fort Stockton there.
Right, you can never expect anything from anybody. I will say it is a new coaching staff out there. Coach Al from Sterling City, so we a little kind of different spill to their offense. So we didn't know what to expect. We just prepare for everything. We tried our best. We want to shut down the run at first. We liked our secondary guys, but even if they were to come out throwing, we expect our secondary guys to be disciplined, stay in coverage. Read what the offense is doing, and get our D-line to get some kind of pressure on them so that we can force some bad passes.
Partner, you seen any good with that team there?
Yeah, the 2 or 3 plays that hurt us on defense, I thought were the option plays, the quarterback option.
Right.
And once that option was taken away, they really couldn't hurt us.
Yeah.
When the backup went in there, he ran well too, but it just wasn't the same as the first quarterback. He was a pretty good athlete. And I think he tried coming back in the third quarter, and he wasn't the same either. You could tell he was not even thinking about running. So is that something you're going to emphasize in the coming weeks, the option playing, if anybody's going to try to, because we play against those big teams like Andrews and teams like that, they're going to run at us.
Right.
They're going to try to run over us. So, is there going to be, I know time will come where you're going to work for all those teams as we get to them. But how concerned are we about big teams that have a great option type running game?
Right. We just take it 1 week at a time. We got a game plan against it, watch a lot of film, and we dissect it. Where we can find our strengths as a defense.
Right.
Where can we expose certain players? Where can we put our athletes to make a good play in open space? Making a good open field tackles and stuff like that. So whether it's quarterback, running back, as long as we all, like I said earlier, we swarm to the football. I don't care if it's a big running back or quarterback, whoever the ball carrier is. As long as we have all 11 hats flying, we got to stop that, and we'll be good on defensively.
Awesome. This actually kind of, you mentioned it a little bit, but it kind of leads me to the bat a little bit. And my partner brought it up perfectly when he really emphasized you're kind of at a slower start offensively. I mean, Parker, you want to dive deeper into that?
We moved the ball, but we also, had to punt once or twice, right? But we hung in there, and the defense stepped up and made the big stop back when they had the ball on our side of the field up 7-0. And that was probably the biggest play of the game because we got the ball and then we started rolling. So as a defensive coach, I'm sure you guys are ecstatic about the defense stepping up, having to step up in the second quarter.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We're trying to give the offense more possessions as possible, If we do that in our job, we'll trust Coach Cortez and all them to put up the points for us. We just got to give them the opportunity.
And I think it's a great way to start the season off, going through a little adversity, but then being able to bounce back. And boom, then everything started going our way after that,
yes,
pretty
sir.
much.
Awesome, and that's really, I'm sorry, I'll do one for the defense. We kind of discussed it prior to the show, but it seemed to be y'all had a lot more success defensively with 3 down linemen compared to 4. Now, we noticed that switch kind of later towards the game. Was that something that y'all just wanted to give a different look to Fort Stockton, or was there maybe some difference you wanted to, I'm not sure. Walk me through that thought process where y'all started the game with 4 down linemen and then switched to 3 towards the end of the game.
Right. So the 4-man front, that we kind of run a little bit, we run both 4-man in front and 3-man front, both base defense. My 4 years being there, we do both. We teach the kids during the off season and during 2 days in the summertime that we can do both. We can be multiple, so we can have that in our utility belt ready to go. As far as the three down lineman going, we're expecting to pass a little more heavy, kind of get more guys back in coverage, and see what kind of pressure we can bring with 3-man. Obviously we can't bring as much with a 4-man front of the passing situation, but you give up a little bit under pressure for people back in coverage.
Awesome. Well, that is it for the bell, which is obviously a fantastic sign with, of course, the massive victory. I do have one really ugly, and it's probably a big sore on a game such as this. That first half may not be the best discipline-wise, with 3 unsportsmanlike conducts, and then we did have a late hit penalty also against Lakeview. Now, I knew this going into the game. This was some bad blood stemming back to last year, but there were some extracurriculars, as we'll call it. Kind of talk to me about, what was that message to the team? I know you may not be able to tell me word for word. What was that message to the team kind of in the locker room to be able to cool that off and be able to play more disciplined football the second half?
Right. We tell our kids, calm heads. We got to control what we can control. If someone says something bad to you, just walk away. They're mad that they're losing, in the ball game, and they're trying to get you to mess up somehow, And of course, we address it to the team, internally. We'll address that probably in practice, like we did this morning and the rest of the week. But it's something that we got to tell the guys. We can't be affording 15-yard, penalties and then letting them, advance on first downs. Give them a new set of downs to keep going. So, obviously, we're going to take care of that, and you just tell the kids, cool heads. We just play Archie football and do our own thing. We let them do the talking. We let our play do our talking.
Fantastic. Well, that does conclude the good, the bad, and the ugly for looking back at Fort Stockton. But now we look ahead. On the road, visit Snyder. The second game of your 4 one-score losses last season, where you dropped last year's matchup 40-34 against the Tigers. And unfortunately, that was their only win of the season, as they went 1-9 in 2024. But we look at them this year, and of course, we'll ask you for a little more insight. They're returning 6 starters on offense, 7 on defense, according to the Texas High School Bible of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. And they were picked to finish last in District 1 of 4A Division 2. And last week, they had themselves a nail-biter against a district opponent, dropping a road test at Pecos in double overtime, 36-28. And of course, most of the time, this is actually perfect that you're here. A couple big stars for the Tigers, being senior quarterback Seth Cooper, according to Max Prep, so take it with a grain of salt, unsure who inputted the stats, 16 of 30, 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an interception. Well, that's a lot of yards, right? Well, how about let's look at who they're going to. 12 receptions, 275 yards, and 2 touchdowns to senior wide receiver Ethan Rios. I'm sure that's a guy that y'all have circled on every strategy, every film. What do you anticipate from a matchup against the Tigers here?
I anticipate a good game. It's like I said last year we really lost some, nail biter, and this year we're trying to, obviously win the ball game. And we're trying to just improve in certain areas that we fell short last season, And that quarterback, Seth, he does have a big, strong arm. And, Ethan Rios, that receiver, they like to connect a lot. And so we got to tell our guys, stay in coverage. He has a nice arm. He likes to throw that deep ball a lot. So as long as we do our job, with the secondary, staying back in coverage and competing for the ball in the air, but also starts up front with our D lineman, getting pressure in his face, making him uncomfortable, kind of rattle his cage a little bit, and force him to do the short passes and let our guys rally to the ball, which we're so good at.
Fantastic. And then from the early film watchings, I'm sure you've done a lot already. Where are you seeing the Chiefs maybe having some advantages against the Tigers?
Defensively, I just feel like our front 7, our linebackers, they're both seniors, Isaac Monreal and Abram Rivera. These guys have been in the program for 4 years, and it's a lot of repetition. Swarming to the ball and letting our defensive front know, hey, we got to leave the ball's going this way. Let's read our guards. Let's do what we're taught to do. Let's make this play, and have that leadership. And I think that goes a long way with us, is having so many seniors being leaders on the field for us.
Mm-hmm. And then you kind of touched on it a little bit, but we got to ask the question point blank: how do you contain Ethan Rios, or even how do you contain this passing game from the Tigers?
Doing our job, being disciplined. Don't do don't do someone else's job. Do your job. So, if our corners are, man up on him or whatever the case may be, don't try to do too much. Don't do what we're not coaching you guys to do. So just know your roles and play your football. Well, you're one of 11 guys on the field. You do your job, let the other 10 do their job, and we're going to be all right.
Compare him, Coach, to I know you've seen film of him, and I don't remember him from last year. Compare him to our star players on the receiver sides.
Yeah, I just feel like, in comparison to those guys, I mean, to me, I can't compare them. Ethan Rios is his own kind of person. Braylon White.
Is he an athlete? Is he great speed, or is this a great catcher?
Yeah, of course. He's, I think, all the above.
Okay.
He's a good receiver. We're going to have our work cut out for us, but I feel pretty confident in our guys.
And it'll probably be the same guys covering him that he's going to be covering on defense too if he plays.
Right, he goes both ways.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Snyder also, Dave Campbell was really quick to mention every player to watch is listed as both offense and defense, wide receiver DB for Ethan Rios. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a battle between Rios and Braylon White all night long.
Both sides,
All
that's going to be interesting. That's going to be great.
Yep,
Indeed. Last one, Coach, before we let you go. Kind of what improvements do you want to see from your D-line, or maybe as a defense as a whole, that you saw from last week's game going into this week?
Just being disciplined. The few times the quarterback, ran the ball, it was us maybe not setting the edge, not closing down, in our gap scheme, not closing down on that, and, just not necessarily being lazy with it, but, as the game goes on, you get kind of tired, you're just not losing that focus. And, that also goes back on me, making sure we sub in our guys, good rotation within our D linemen.
Awesome. Well, Coach, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. When we come
Coach,
back, we were going to have quarterback Chris
Appreciate
Alviso joining us for a player interview. You are watching Chiefs Insider live from Shenanigans. We'll be back after this.
Check out why First Community Federal Credit Union is the #1 local auto lender in the Concho Valley.
With great low rates on new, used, and refinance autos, we can save you money. First Community has great payment options and low prices for GAP, extended warranty, and credit life insurance, so we can make your payment fit your budget. So be smart, bank smart, and contact First Community for your auto financing needs.
Pain is never planned, and recovery time is never convenient. But the last thing you want to do is wait for answers. At Angelo MRI, you are more than a number. We can get you results within 24 hours at a price you can afford. So when you need to get back into the game fast, tell your doctor you want to go to Angelo MRI. We hope you don't need us this season. But in case you do, remember, it's your health, your choice, your MRI.
At Schertz Landscape, we care about the quality of trees that you put in your landscape. Therefore, we grow our trees here locally in the Concho Valley. As a certified arborist, I not only care about the quality of your tree being planted, but I am also qualified as a tree risk assessor. I can evaluate the health of an older tree or the risk that it may have to you and your property. Come see us at Schertz Landscape, where we care about the quality of your trees.
See friendship being
And welcome back to Chief Insider live from Shenanigans. Here, ladies and gentlemen, we have probably the MVP of last week, quarterback Chris Alviso. Chris, first and foremost, thank you for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Of course, as a lot of people know, you are student athletes. Students come first. So
Yes, sir.
I got to start off. How are your classes doing?
Right now it seems pretty easy, but I think once we get later into the year, it'll start getting more harder. I'm taking 3 college prep classes right now.
Awesome. Cool.
And still kind of easing into them.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. And then gotta ask those maybe some of those subjects for the sake that we cover the student part of this. What is your favorite subject in school?
As of right now, it's probably pre-calculus.
Cool.
I did not enjoy pre-cal.
That was a tough class. Tough class.
I love math, and I did not enjoy pre-cal whenever I
did too.
was taking that. Nonetheless, Well, I had this other stuff set up because we were expecting another guest to join us here today, but unfortunately he was unable to make it. Nonetheless, being a junior, have you had any thoughts regarding your postgraduate plans, regards to maybe want to go to school? I'm sure you probably want to keep playing ball, or at least doing some sort of sport. Have you really thought about what you want to study in college by chance?
No, I haven't had much thought of it right now. Still trying to think about it.
Nothing wrong with that.
Talk to my parents about it.
Nothing wrong with that whatsoever.
Awesome.
So still have a little bit of time to figure it out before applications open. You got to start scrambling for everything else. Well, there's a student out of the way, folks. Hope you're all happy. Let's get into some football. Chris, obviously, first and foremost, I want to go back to last year a little bit. You were thrusted into the starting role following an injury against Fort Stockton in the second quarter. You know, of course, then being a sophomore, now being a junior. What was that experience like, knowing that, hey, like, I know I do other stuff for this team, but now, hey, I got to play quarterback now. What did that mean back then, and kind of how did you see your season go? It may not be the best record-wise, but how did you see your personal season go for last year?
Stepping into that role was pretty nerve-wracking, but my team, they really, like, rallied around me, and I knew they were there by my side, and as we went on in the season, it just got better and better, and it led on into this season. I'm feeling more trusted in my team.
It's great to have that trusted feeling, of course, being able to be the leader of your teammates. Well, how did you think you improved from a physical aspect going from last season to this season? Do you feel like you're getting stronger throwing? Do you feel like you're getting better making decisions? And how do you feel like you improved?
Definitely making better decisions, staying disciplined in the pocket, and trusting my coaches and the reads that they give me.
Awesome. And now, of course, let's look at week one. Obviously, you saw it when we're sitting here in Shenanigans. You had some of the highlights here, including just a play like this where you just made a nothing into something. Kind of talk about just your playing style here, and just like how are you able to make things like that happen? Is that more of just instinct, or are you just running wild until they knock you down?
It's just more of an instinct, you know. It's just in the moment, just trying to get as far as I can.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. And then we did have a bunch of highlights of you connecting with Braylon White all night long. It seems that y'all really developed that bond, and just being able to know, is that your guy whenever are you looking for him first and foremost?
I like to say that, but that doesn't mean like I can't trust my other receivers, you know.
Right.
They're all on the field, and I feel like I can trust every single one of them to go and make a play.
And then I did mention it to Coach as we look at more of your highlights here. Once again, hitting Braylon White on that slam route. I love this play y'all do where you're making the corners having to switch, and just another shot. Once again, another switch concept. And unfortunately, we missed the Braylon catching the touchdown here. Just talk to me about. Just walk me through the process of some of these drives. And, of course, here we go. Actually, but let me take that back. Walk me through that play. The two-point conversion, was it always supposed to go to Braylon here? What happened there? And then, like, mistiming, what happened?
Honestly, I thought it was a false start or offsides because it took a second for the ball to be snapped. But on that play, I just tried to find who was open because it started late. So it was just an instinct at that point.
It was kind of interesting to me because, you know, I was watching the play, and I even, you know, if my voice was still there, you would hear me kind of like question and start stuttering over myself because I'm like, oh, yeah, that should be false start, because I see the whole right half of the line jump and nothing happens. And then you're scrambling out, you find Braylon, and then just going crazy there. And, of course, you have crazy catches like that. Just kind of walk me through just how this game felt to you, being able to make these connections basically all night long.
It felt really good, knowing that the work that we put in is really paying off during practice and after practice in the film room, and knowing that the chemistry that we built is really showing.
Yeah, and of course
both guys were wide open there.
Oh yeah, we were joking about it during the stream that both guys on what looked to be just like a follow post routes of there going on. But you did mention being able to trust your other receivers. I noticed on the depth chart, the 2 deep that we get, you have all seniors starting at wide receiver. With you being a junior, you're one of 70% of this roster returning, with all but one being your center, being upperclassmen. Talk to me about what it feels like knowing that you have such leadership on a team like this.
It's a big role leading like everyone as a quarterback, but I feel like this season is really for the seniors. It's their last ride, and we're going to make the most out of it.
Now, of course, we see you hitting a swing route to Calvin Whitfield. Talk to me about what kind of player he is, because my partner and I noticed he was really only out there with you for one drive prior to give Isaiah Rios a break, and he did basically everything, being able to run the ball a lot. He was wide open on that touchdown pass. Talk to me about what kind of player he is.
He's really trustable. I know I could throw it to him, he'll make a play on it, or hand it off to him and he'll make a play on it. And he's really fast. He does track. They made it to regionals, I'm pretty sure, in the 4x4, and I know he's there to make a play.
Fantastic. And then another one I had just my goodness, it just kind of made me blank. Oh, perfect. Coach mentioned to us you are playing both sides of the ball,
yes, sir.
Being an outside linebacker and quarterback. Talk to me about what flipping that switch has to be like for you. Like, okay, cool, I got to be – is it like you have to be in a quarterback mindset and a linebacker mindset, or is it just, hey, I'm playing football, it doesn't matter what I got to do?
Yeah, I'm just in the flow of the game. I'm just playing football.
You have any questions, partner?
Now, what I wanted to say was last year I did stats, and I remember for most of the football games we had 6 or 7 or 8 receivers catch a pass. So you had a bunch of receivers. Sure, Braylon was probably the number one. He probably had 4 or 5 catches, but you had people that connected 2 or 3 times every game. So, and you don't see that a lot in high school where, usually you have your top 2 or 3 players and they get most of the catches, but you had every week 7, 8. It would take up the whole line of receivers, and I think there was like maybe 10 spots. I don't remember, but how comfortable you are having that many people that can catch the ball?
It's really comforting, like knowing that each receiver can get a break, and after that they can go make a play again.
Sure.
Awesome. Now, I do have a question that I ask every athlete I interview on this show. Now, walk me through it. You are in the weight room, getting ready to probably try to hit your max here. Probably maybe trying to either bench, squat, whatever you want to do. What song you putting on?
There's a song in the locker room that we play. It's called Swag Surfing.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's that one.
Never heard it.
You never heard of it, really? I mean, I learned it really quick. No, it's not even that. I feel like it's a West Texas tradition because I know Texas Tech is real big on it, and being from Central Texas, being a UT fan, of course, a lot of depression after Saturday. But I've learned a lot about this. One of my best friends being a Tech fan, I learned all about swag surfing. It's actually really funny you mentioned that too, because I believe Isaac, who I interviewed last week, literally also mentioned swag surfing. So is that just like the team song this year?
Yeah, it's just the team song this year.
Fair enough. Another question I have. Of course, the game of football, and especially with the drafts in the NFL draft, is you see a lot of the experts, and I'll put in air quotes, not everybody's exactly the best. They just make a lot of money and get called experts. I like to compare play styles. And one of the big ones is like quarterbacks. They love to compare, this guy is just like Patrick Mahomes or whatever. Looking at yourself, and then maybe a little biased, but be a little honest here, who do you think you mimic, or even if you do mimic your play style, who do you think you mimic your play style after?
I'd like to say maybe Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
Cool.
Being able to scramble but also throw at the same time.
Are you a fan of maybe one to try to do more tush-push with the offense in the future?
That'd be something to try, but we haven't done that yet. So
somebody write that down. I gotta let Coach know. Maybe install it in the offense. And then this one may be a little. I've gotten some very heartful answers in the past, and it's okay if you don't provide it. But to end off tonight, I want to know, and I'm sure some people hear me want to know, who is your biggest inspiration when you're playing football or even in life, and why?
It's probably my dad.
Cool.
He's always supported me ever since I was little, taking me to all the camps, taking me to go train with some professionals, and the support he's really put into me is showing off this year, and I really want to do it for him.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Now, I literally just forgot. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's the last question. I didn't even talk about Snyder. I don't know how I didn't do that at all whatsoever. So, unfortunately, that's not going to be the last question. I have a couple more. Talk to me about, this coming week, Snyder on the road, one of your 4 one-score losses last year. What are you seeing early on film, or what are the coaches talking you through? And, of course, I know you don't want to reveal your hand too soon, but what are y'all seeing on film that helps you getting ready for the Tigers?
They're leaving the run game pretty open. They allowed Pecos to get a lot of rushing yards last game, And I think when we're seeing that, we know we can trust Rios to go make a play.
What's their defense formation? What's their main?
It's a 4-2.
4-2.
Yes, sir.
4-2-5. Okay.
We got to enjoy the evolution of sports. We used to just be 4-3, 3-4,
Yeah.
46 Bear. Now we got 4-2-5 and variation of 3-3-5. It's absolutely.
Or the 50. We supposed to run 50.
That's even
5
past
down
me.
lineman.
That's even past me. I played all the old Madden games. I never
5-2.
5-2. My goodness, that's a deep cut. Well, yeah. Well, here's another one. We talked about it with Coach earlier, and this will be my last one because it was a big exclamation point spotlight. Ethan Rios, the receiver for Snyder, allegedly, or I say allegedly, he was on max preps, 12 receptions, 275 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I know you're a linebacker, but what do you think y'all have to do on defense to be able to counter a passing game that Snyder seems to be potentially throwing at y'all this weekend?
We definitely marked him down, and we definitely have a game plan built for him. With our corners, we know we can trust them to lock him down, and especially Roman and Concho.
Fantastic. Oh, speaking of Concho, how'd you feel about that pick six for your boy over there on Friday?
That was a big momentum changer.
Sure it was.
It really motivated us and pumped us up to just, keep going.
Fantastic. Partner, anything else?
Nope.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Chris Alviso, the quarterback of Lakeview Chiefs. I appreciate every single one of y'all for watching Chief Insider here tonight. And that is it. On behalf of my partner, Arthur Andrade, producing and directing Shay Harris. As always, ladies and gentlemen, take care of each other and yourselves. We appreciate y'all for watching. We hope you have a great night. Stay tuned on Thursday, Concho Insider for scores, previews, all the other fun stuff. And then, of course, on Friday night, the Chiefs on the road take on Snyder. You can watch it on Concho Sports Network, 7 o'clock. As always, thank y'all for watching, and have a great rest of y'all's night. Thank you. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.